Toyota's Land Cruiser is the preferred mode of transport in some of the world's harshest environments, so it's a safe bet that it will be up to pretty much anything any UK buyer can put it through. It's not cheap, but it is tough, dependable, will hold its value and probably outlive you. Even better off-road, and slightly better on it, this version's as honest a large, luxurious 7-seater SUV as you could want. In an age of crossovers, soft roaders and various other permutations of pretend 4x4s, it's refreshing once in a while to come across the real thing. And this is it, Toyota's Land Cruiser. Now, the nameplate goes back to 1954, but since 1985, buyers in 188 countries across the globe have been able to buy into two very distinct Land Cruiser lines. The V8 super luxury SUV flagship is aimed at the kind of Range Rover customer who likes the thought of commuting to Knightsbridge via Ben Nevis. But what we're looking at here is the separate 3-litre D4D version. Now this is a completely separate car, though just as tough and nearly as big as its pricier stablemate. It represents Toyota in the Mitsubishi Shogun Land Rover Discovery-sized family 4x4 market. And perhaps not surprisingly, it's this car and its so-called Light Duty Series predecessors that have accounted for the majority of the 5 million sales that the Land Cruiser has generated over its history. Typical owners could be anyone from a Kenyan safari guide to a Siberian mining contractor. And it's these people, rather than green-wellied housewives, that this car has been designed to suit. Hence the fact that it has a traditional separate ladder frame chassis, the type of thing that's been abandoned by more car-like European rivals in search of more tarmac-like performance. Now, that limits this big Toyota's market appeal, of course, but loyal customers don't care. They'll buy this car because it's dependable, tough, it'll go anywhere, and it'll probably outlive them. If you classify the driving position of something like a RAV4 as high up, then a seat behind the wheel of this Land Cruiser will make you feel like you're in the umpire's chair at Wimbledon. It's a position of high command from where you marshal an almost bewildering selection of knobs, switches, buttons and screens that collectively combine to send this car smoothly over terrain you'd struggle to walk across, let alone glide through, with Radio 4 soothing you on the stereo. Only one engine is on offer in this particular brand of Land Cruiser, a big 3-litre 4-cylinder D4D diesel that makes rest to 60 in 11.7 seconds, and it's matched to a 5-speed automatic gearbox. Now, the 171 brake horsepower it offers doesn't seem a great deal when a 3-litre Land Rover Discovery 4 offers you 70 brake horsepower more, but the emphasis in this case has been put firmly on torque, on pulling power. There's 410 Newton meters of it to drag you out of the front gate and power you up to speed into that small traffic gap, or drag you through a parched earth ravine in Death Valley, whichever is more appropriate. Now, assuming the former scenario to be more common, this car will impress with its accurate steering, its great all-round visibility, and its clever and smooth automatic gearbox that's intelligent enough to learn your driving style. But of course, it is what it is. Weighing nearly 2.5 tons and lacking the car-like monocoque chassis boasted by European rivals in favour of the separate ladder-framed chassis that true mud-plugging ability demands, this is never going to be a BMW X5 style SUV around the twisty stuff, and it isn't. Overtaking must be planned well in advance and body roll allowed for, although this top LC Vive version has active anti-roll suspension that you marshal via the buttons down here that limits body pitch not only from left to right but also from front to rear. And off-road? Well, as long as you can afford the priciest version, it's everything a Land Rover Discovery is and more. All variants get permanent four-wheel drive, of course, with a choice of high and low ratio gearboxes. The low ratio, if you're in really muddy stuff, you access low ratio by these switches and dials just in front of the gearbox here, switching from H4 to L4. That's the low. Now, you also get the usual limited slip locking centre differential that apportions torque equally between front and rear axles if you're in a really tight spot. And those axles have quite amazing degrees of articulation so that you can drop the wheels into really tight ruts and crevices. Now, if you need more, if, for example, you're on terrain with boulders or you've got items you've got to get over, there's a height control here that you can use to adjust the ride height of the vehicle. Now, even if with all this extra ride height you do ground out the bottom of the vehicle, the bottom of the chassis has been engineered so that it slides across the top of the soil rather than grinds through it. This top LC5 model, though, offers a whole package of extra features. Its clever anti-roll suspension system, for example, works in reverse off-road to offer maximum body movement and therefore maximum grip. You can lock the rear as well as the centre differential if you get really stuck. And not that there's really any excuse for doing that if you use the multi-terrain driving modes. There's a choice of 4 that you marshal via the button on the steering wheel here. You can have mud and sand, loose rock, mogul and rock. And that'll get you through pretty much just about anything. If that's not enough, there's even a crawl mode that you marshal via a button down here, which at a steady speed of between 1 and 3 miles an hour will automatically take you across any terrain you care to mention. All you have to do is sit there and steer. You don't even need to get out and inspect what you might be about to hit, thanks to 4 external cameras that feed pictures back to this centre display screen. They even work underwater. Now, if you lose track of which way the wheels are pointing, which is easy to do when you're in glutinous mud, the same screen will show you. And the sat-nav capability it also has will even help you if you get lost in a field, showing a fairy tale type map of where you've been so you can find your way home. This Land Cruiser isn't about to win any prizes for design elegance. It's pretty much your typical large 4x4, bluff-fronted and imposing, with few concessions to style, though the distinctive flat-top wheel arches, the bold sill line and the powerful haunches do catch the eye. Now, despite retaining the same wheelbase as the previous generation model, the extra 45mm of length do contribute to a size big enough to ensure that while owners are driving their Land Cruisers to the ends of the earth, they can take plenty of people with them. True, the entry-level version does come in 5-seat guise, but even here, the 7-seat option that many owners will want is an option. Now, these extra seats are now more neatly sited beneath the boot floor, from where they raise or lower at the touch of a button. Now, it's a very clever system, which even stores the headrests as it retracts back into the floor, which I think is very neat. Of course, real grown-ups will be more comfortable in the middle row with its reclining seats and excellent standards of head and legroom. Now, you can slide these seats, which actually fold 40-20-40, backwards and forwards by up to 125mm to prioritise either your legroom or that of those behind. At the wheel, it's more about durability than style, but everything's of high quality, even if the wood and plastic mix on top models like this one isn't always perfectly judged. Now, you'll need a few hours with the handbook to understand all of this rather scattered switchgear, but once mastered, it all falls to hand easily enough, and the driving position is excellent. Cabin storage is generous with properly sized door bins, a huge glove box, and this centre storage box that can be optionally cooled for drinks, which can then be dispensed via the individual cup holders provided for every occupant. The boot's accessible via this huge side-opening tailgate that's a bit of a pain in tight spaces, but once it's open, the news is all good. There are luggage rails to tie things down and endless seating permutations courtesy of Toyota's Easy Flat folding system that enables you to decide on how you're going to combine people with packages. Now, the amount of space you get with all the seats folded is 974 litres, but that's a total that will be pared down to just 104 litres if you have all 7 seats in place. Now, list prices suggest that you're going to be paying somewhere between £34,000 and £50,000 for your Toyota Land Cruiser 3-litre D4D. The bottom end of that pricing spectrum, though, buys you only the entry-level 5-seat model, and most buyers will want to try and budget from mid-level spec, where 7 seats are standard, and for that you'll need about £43,000, or £5,000 more than that if you want the top-level LC5 variant that I've been trying here, with all the off-roading toys on it. Bear in mind, though, that once you're paying that kind of money, you're only £10,000 away from the awesome Land Cruiser V8 with its 479 brake horsepower engine, but that's a separate model. Here we're concerned with the 3-litre D4D range, and that's been priced at mid and top level, right against Land Rover's Discovery 4. True, if you go for a mid-level Land Cruiser 3-litre D4D, you could save sort of £5,000 if you were going for a Mitsubishi Shogun instead. But that vehicle isn't really as tough. Mind you, if toughness isn't an issue, then you could, for this kind of money, be considering Mercedes M-Classes, Audi Q7s, or any number of more road-orientated SUVs. But they're from a really different side of the market. Under the bonnet of this mainstream Land Cruiser, there's really only one engine option, this 171 brake horsepower 3-litre D4D diesel. So for most buyers, the real decision will be on what trim level to choose and making sure that they get the 7-seat configuration. Now, whatever Land Cruiser variant you choose, it comes pretty well equipped with climate-controlled air conditioning, cruise control, keyless entry and start, Bluetooth compatibility and 17-inch alloy wheels. Now bear in mind that the base model doesn't have the desirable anti-roll suspension package, and that if you want all the off-road toys, the multi-terrain control, the locking rear diff, the proximity cameras, the crawl control and so on, you'll need this pricey LC5 version. Still, at least that throws in niceties like a 17-speaker stereo system with a 10-gigabyte jukebox and DVD compatibility with a fold-out screen to keep those in the rear amused. And there's a decent roster of safety equipment no matter which Land Cruiser model you choose, that runs to an advanced traction and stability control, 7 airbags and anti-whiplash head restraints. Now, nobody is going to purchase a Toyota Land Cruiser and expect miracles on the running costs front. So the average 35 miles to the gallon that you get on the combined cycle and the 214 grams per kilometre of CO2 return should come as a pleasant surprise. Toyota has been leading the field recently with its low CO2 optimal drive technology, and it seems that even the mighty Land Cruiser is benefiting. Residual values have been and will stay high thanks to this car's bulletproof build quality, the low numbers imported and its loyal following. Insurance groups range between 14 and 15, and you get a 3-year 60,000 mile warranty that you'll almost certainly never need. Here's a proper 4x4, intended for a proper 4x4 lifestyle, not the smiley marketing one you see in the brochures of lesser SUVs. It'll never let you down, and it'll very comfortably get you and 6 other passengers wherever you want to go. Such has always been the appeal of the Land Cruiser. This generation version, though, has had its off-road superiority threatened by the excellence of rivals like Land Rover's Discovery 4. Toyota have responded in kind, producing a vehicle just as capable and probably better suited to the needs of the many third world users who wouldn't be seen dead driving anything else. It's better than ever before on-road too, but if it's a tarmac 4x4 you're after, then this one won't suit. As an ultimately capable long-term ownership proposition though, there isn't much that beats it.